Well, Merry Christmas, guys. How are you? Good. Man, it's good to see you. I hope today has already been awesome and that tomorrow is filled with even more, because this really is the most wonderful time of the year. And because of that, I just want to be honest for a second. This is a quick confession time, all right? Anyone in here go a little overboard with Christmas, and maybe you start listening to Christmas music right after Labor Day and you leave your Christmas tree up until Valentine's Day? Anybody? Bunch of liars. We got one person that's going to be honest, right? No, I love Christmas. It's awesome. But come on, leaving your tree up until Valentine's Day, that's ridiculous. We leave it up until St. Patrick's Day. We love Christmas, and there's so much that we look forward to, and part of the reason why is that there are big expectations that are attached to Christmas. And this is the season of perpetual hope, but it's also the season of expectations. And you know this to be true because you can see expectations everywhere every December. Now, the problem can be, though, is that reality might not match up with those expectations. For instance, there are always big expectations that we're gonna get great family pictures. Right, moms? Great family pictures. We're gonna go get dressed up nice. We're gonna go to the mountains somewhere. We're gonna get this amazing picture that we get to send out as our Christmas cards to all of our family and our friends. We're gonna have the best looking family in the office. This is going to be great. But then the pictures end up going something like this. Yeah, look at those faces. That's reality. Those are my kids. Every single year, I ask Kelly for us to let that be our Christmas card, and every year she says no. Or another expectation is, man, you're gonna watch classic Christmas movies. Anybody in here, like me, love Christmas movies? Love Christmas movies, man. I look forward to watching the classics every year, like Christmas Vacation, It's a Wonderful Life, Home Alone, Elf, Die Hard, the classics, the absolute classics. But the reality is, every single year, Hallmark tries to ruin that by flooding the market with more of the same bad Christmas movie, and all of them have the exact same plot. There's some top executive or lawyer from the big city who is single and maybe a little cynical. She goes back to her small hometown for Christmas, probably somewhere in Vermont. She meets this nice guy who is a single dad, only wears flannel, probably owns a Christmas tree farm or something. And then over the course of 10 days, he slowly begins to warm her heart until once again, she believes in the magic of Christmas and in true love, all of which is capped off by the two of them getting engaged on Christmas Day. Tell me I'm wrong. That's every single Hallmark Christmas movie. And the only reason I know that, I'm not watching them, but my wife has them on in the other room all the time. And she's not in this service, so I'm just gonna throw her under the bus. Or one more, another expectation that we have, parents. Parents, we have an expectation that our kids' Christmas concert is gonna be amazing. Oh, I hear the groans already, right? This little Beethoven that we're raising, I can't wait to see where all of the dollars and hours that we're investing into lessons go. This is gonna be an awesome night. We're gonna dress up. I can't wait to get to my kids' Christmas concert, but it ends up going something like this. Yeah, you guys are so nice for clapping. I love the mom in the back row who's just laughing the whole time. How do you keep a straight face with that, right? That's reality. Christmas is awesome. There's all kinds of expectations that go with it. But could Christmas also be the season of unmet expectations? Or maybe we should look to what expectations we really have. It's really easy to experience disappointment or frustration, maybe even despair if we've got the wrong expectations. Now, I'm not saying that we should lower them, not at all. I'm just saying maybe we've got the wrong ones, or here's probably the truth. Maybe we're looking in the wrong places. Here's what I mean. The expectations around the very first Christmas that people had were messed up. Like maybe you know the story. No room at the inn, pregnant teenage girl, shepherds keeping watch over the flocks at night, an angel appearing and freaking everybody out, a star, some wise men. And maybe you know that part of the story. Those are all pieces of the first Christmas. But do you know what the expectations were? Because they weren't that. And you got to go back centuries to find out the expectations. Israel, God's people, they had been promised that the Messiah would come to them, the coming Savior would come to them, and the Messiah would bless them and restore them. And through them, they would actually be the catalyst for the Messiah blessing everyone in the world and giving everyone in the world, including you and I, the opportunity at salvation. God promised that. He promised that through Moses. You see it in the Old Testament law, the prophets in the Old Testament, all different kinds of prophecies and descriptions about who the Messiah would be, what he'd be like, and what he would do. And after all of that, Israel based their expectations on all of that. Now, at some point along the way, and maybe it was from the very beginning, their expectations just got really sideways. They thought the Messiah, the coming Savior, was going to be a conquering king. Because at that point in Jesus' day, the Romans oversaw, they ruled over all of Judea. That's present-day Israel. They thought that the Messiah was going to come and take care of the Romans. He's going to take care of these guys. He's going to kick them out. He's going to overthrow the Romans. And then finally, all of this oppression, all of the injustice, all of the years of slavery, finally we're going to have freedom again because the Messiah is going to come from the line of David. So the expectation was things are going to be exactly like they were when David was king. The golden age of Israel. Finally, once again, we're going to mess some fools up that want to fight us. We're going to be the biggest, baddest kid on the block. Our kingdom is going to keep expanding, and we're going to be booming economically. That's what they thought, because that's the way that life should be. That's the way it was always meant to be, and it'll be awesome, it'll be incredible, instead of the dumpster fire that it is when that happens. The expectation was they would be a world superpower and the richest country in the world. Does that sound familiar to any of us? Should. That's the United States. We live in the richest country in the world. We are a global superpower. We are literally living their expectation. What the Jews in Jesus' day thought was going to make them whole. Hey, this is going to make everything better. This is going to be what we've always been looking for. Finally, we're going to have what we're missing. We're living that right now. But would any of us say that things are going great right now? No, I don't think so. Yeah, there's money here. There's power. There's opportunities here. That's great. But power does not produce unity. Money does not mean contentment. And opportunities definitely don't guarantee fulfillment. Now, I'm guessing this is true for you because this is true of everyone at some point in life. And maybe this is where you're at right now. Are you looking for something that's real? Everyone is. Are you looking for something just deeper? Maybe something, you can't quite put your finger on it, but something is missing. Are you looking for something that's going to give you real life? And what your default will be is this, whatever this thing is that's missing, whatever I'm looking for, whatever this deeper thing that I know I don't have, but I want it, your default is going to be to look for it in the here and now. Like what I can see in the world, what I can hear, what I can experience, what I can get my hands on, that's where I'm going to look to find whatever it is I'm looking for. It's exactly what the Israelites did, exactly what the Jews did. Man, they wanted freedom. They wanted peace. They wanted joy. They wanted fulfillment. Man, those are great things. Those were their expectations, and they were all based upon what the world has to offer, not what God promises. And you and I tend to do the same thing. We tend to do the exact same thing. So let me just ask you a question, and this is just for you. So be honest with yourself. Are you disappointed right now? Disappointed with the way things are? Disappointed that it just seems like everything is always going in the wrong direction? Disappointed with where you're at in life or your circumstances? You never imagined you'd be in this spot in life, or you don't think you deserve this. Are you just disappointed with life itself? And the reason I ask that is because disappointment can be an indication that you've got the wrong expectations, or what's most likely happening is you actually have the right expectations. You're looking for things that have been wired into you, but you're looking in the wrong places. For instance, are you looking to the American dream? Is that what you're chasing after? Great career, great family, nice house. Like if I have those things and if I get to this financial level, whatever that is, that's where I'll find peace and security. So what you're really looking for is peace, and you're looking for security, and your expectation is, I can find those things in the American dream. Or are you looking for happiness? Do you have this expectation that I deserve to be happy? It's a pretty prominent one today. Now, there's nothing wrong with happiness itself, nothing wrong with happiness. The problem with happiness, though, is that it's fleeting. Your happiness could end right now with a phone call, could be over, because your happiness is tied to your circumstances. So really what you believe is that my circumstances are going to make me happy, and if they're not, then I have to do everything that I possibly can to change my circumstances because I deserve to be happy. Now here's the truth about happiness. Happiness is a cheap substitute for joy. It's a cheap substitute. Joy is not tied to your circumstances at all. Joy at its core, joy is the awareness of God's grace and favor. That means it doesn't matter what your circumstances are. They could be awesome, like you could be just killing it right now, or your circumstances could be terrible. If you are aware of God's grace and favor, then you're going to experience joy. And if you can't see it, or if you can't experience it, or if you can't feel it, that's just another reason to be connected to a church like this one, because now you can be around and in community with other people who can point it out to you. Now here's God's grace in your life. Here's God's favor. Look at this over here, especially when you can't feel it or you don't experience it, or you think that everything's just going to hell in a handbasket. Or maybe you're really looking for freedom and fulfillment and identity. And your expectation where you're looking for it is in expressive individualism. This is a dogma of our culture today that says, hey, be true to yourself, whatever that means, and express yourself however feels good and feels right to you in the moment, and that's how you'll experience freedom, that's how you'll experience fulfillment, that's how you'll get celebrated, and whatever about you gets celebrated, that's your identity. So the expectation is, I'm gonna let my feelings guide me, even though feelings always change, and that's gonna lead to real freedom, and whatever gets me celebrated, my feelings are actually gonna reveal my real identity. Or maybe you've got a Jerry Maguire complex. You complete me. Really dramatic living room scene, right? Or you think that another person can actually complete you. It's a lot of pressure to put on another human being. That somebody else can actually complete you as an individual. But this is an expectation the world tells you should have. That you can find completeness, that you can find wholeness in another person. And that expectation right there is just one of the reasons why we treat marriage like a contract instead of a covenant. Contract based on happiness received, not sacrificial love given. And if you approach a relationship or another person or marriage like that, then whenever this person isn't making you happy, then, well, they're not living up to their end of the contract, so I'm gonna move on and find another person, and then another person, and then another person. And over time and through a lot of pain, you're gonna realize that, no, another person can't complete you, and now all you have to show for it is to look back and see a wake of relationships over the years. It's not worth it. Or maybe you're looking to yourself. You want grace. You want like, hey, can I just start over? Can I get a second chance? And if I'm honest, can I get a third chance? How do I get justified? Here's what I'll do. I'll be a good person because I am, and then I'll build up my own morality and keep my good name, and that will make me right. That will justify me. I'll make sure I get grace based on my own effort. So your expectation is you make yourself right. Like, I don't know what it is for you. I don't know what it is. It could be something completely different. But what are you really looking for? What are you looking for? Hebrews 11:1 says, faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Well, another word for assurance is promise, and another word for hope is expectation. So what promise do you have from our world or our culture that your expectations for whatever it is that you're looking for are going to get met? Man, you're promised all day long. You're sold that you can find whatever it is you're looking for in the world's values, narratives, and offerings. But if you're looking for those things, the deeper things that have actually been wired into you, if you keep looking for those things in our world, all you're gonna do is meet disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, because the American dream can't fulfill you. Happiness is a cheap substitute for joy. Feelings always change and they will never fully satisfy you, and another person can never complete you. Man, the people in Jesus' day, they thought that, hey, if we go back to the glory days, if we're the world's superpower again, if we're the richest country on the planet, that's what we need. That's what will make life complete. That's what we're missing. And their expectation was, we'll get a political solution to take care of that. They thought if we can just take care of Rome, if we can get Rome out of here, then we're set. That's what they wanted. That's what they thought. But here was the truth. Rome wasn't the issue. Just like today, the economy isn't the issue. Politics are not the issue. More opportunities and the need for more is not the issue. Your feelings are not the issue. A relationship isn't the issue. Those are just symptoms of the real problem. The real issue today is that the world desperately needs a savior. That's exactly what Christmas is. Christmas proves that your expectation and mine for how the world should work and how it should be based off of our logic and our opinions, Christmas proves that our expectations are way too low. Way too low. If at the very best, they're just wrong. And we tend to look in the wrong places over and over again because everybody wants freedom. Like you want freedom, you want fulfillment, so do I. Everybody's looking for peace. Who doesn't want peace? Everybody wants joy, everybody wants grace, everybody wants justification, everybody wants an identity, everybody wants purpose because those things have been wired into you, but you're never gonna find them in our world. Faith is the assurance, the promise of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. So really, what are you hoping for and what promise do you have to stand on? I mean, at best, you might get a taste of those things in our world, just a taste. Taste never lasts. It means you need more. And if you get a taste of those things, that's just an act of grace to get your attention to look up. That's God saying, hey, look up here. I have those things. Those things are for my sons and my daughters. Anyone who follows me and believes in me, those things are a byproduct of it. Christmas is an invitation for you to look up. The world is dark right now, really dark. And maybe right now you are in a spot in your life where it's just extremely dark for you personally. And every time you watch the news, it's just like, man, I'm gonna flinch and brace for whatever's next. And if you've been around the block more than once, you know that if you try to find real sacrificial love, real joy that lasts, real peace, real fulfillment, you know that even though you're sold that message all day long and promised it, you're never gonna find it in this world. So it becomes really easy over time to just have this attitude about life in general that, you know what, hey, just don't get your hopes up. You felt that way before? Don't get your hopes up. That's just another way of saying you should have really low expectations in life. But hear me on this. Please hear me on this. Don't buy that. Don't buy that. Because you should have extremely high expectations. High expectations that you can have real love, that you can have real grace, that you can have real joy, real peace, real fulfillment. You can have that. And that's not even the best part. Those things aren't even the real gift. Those are a byproduct of the gift. The real gift is you can have Jesus right now. That's what Christmas is. And think about how much love it actually took for him to come here. He came here for you. He came to live for you. He came to die for your imperfections and mine. He came to die for your sin and for mine, for all the brokenness and the bad expectations in our world. And then he conquered death by rising from it. And then how much love did that actually take that he would come and be born as a vulnerable baby in a barn? He was thinking about you. He left heaven to enter this mess. I don't even want to get out of bed on a cold day to make my kids scrambled eggs. Anybody with me on that one? Especially the last 2 days? Nah, You can find cereal on your own, guys. Or am I the only bad dad in here? Well, leave me hanging. But he left heaven to come into this mess. only to be mocked, made fun of, lied about, falsely accused, betrayed, tortured, and then crucified so that you could have him in eternal life. I mean, that right there, Jesus coming to you, Christmas, that's just one more item on the long list of proof that God really does love you, that he really does value you, that he really wants you. The joy, peace, fulfillment, love, grace, man, that stuff is just extra. Those are the stocking stuffers. The real gift is you can have Jesus right now, the God of the universe. That's Christmas. Christmas is not don't get your hopes up. It's the opposite. Christmas is get your hopes up even higher. Not in politics, not in the economy, not in a career, not in a social narrative, not in another person, not in pleasure. No, get your hopes up in Jesus. Christmas is the message of more. Faith is the assurance, the promise of things hoped for. The promises that we have right now that we hope for, all of those are based on a promise that's already been fulfilled. Christmas was promised and prophesied about for centuries. And every single one of those prophecies came true at the birth of Jesus and through his life, death, and resurrection. That means our faith is assured. Our faith is not blind. It is not wishful thinking. It is assured. And Christmas is the start of that assurance. So once again, what are you really looking for? Only you can answer that. And maybe you can't right now, but chew on this. What are you really hoping for? Now, are you hungry? Jesus said, I am the bread of life. Anyone who comes to me will never be hungry again. So what are you really hungry for? I'm not talking about food. Deeper. What are you really hungry for? Well, man, I'm hungry for success. No, you're not. What you're really hungry for is to feel like you matter and that you have value and you think success will satisfy that hunger. Are you hungry for satisfaction? I mean, everybody is. Jesus said, I am the gate, and anyone who comes through me will be saved. They will come and go freely and find good pastures. The thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. My purpose is to give them rich and satisfying life. That desire you have for satisfaction, because we all have it. We all have a desire to experience satisfying things in life. That's been wired into you by God, and it was meant to be satisfied and fulfilled by God, Jesus himself. But we tend to look for it in all the wrong places. We look for satisfaction in places and people and pleasures that we think are going to fulfill us, and maybe we get a glimpse of it, but then we need more, or we take this desire for satisfaction, and maybe we go down a really rough road that causes a lot of damage and a lot of pain, and some of you have experienced that. That desire for satisfaction, God put that in you, and he was the one that was meant to fulfill it. Are you looking for purpose? Like, who doesn't want purpose? Jesus said, I'm the vine, you're the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them, they will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Man, do you want a life that has meaning? Where it feels like it counts, where you're part of something that's bigger than yourself? Who doesn't want a life that's fruitful and multiplies, that has real purpose? Jesus says, that's me right here. I created you for purpose and on purpose. You're not gonna find it outside of me. Or are you looking for grace? For that justification, that start over, maybe guidance? Jesus says, I'm the good shepherd. And the good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. That's where the grace comes from. It doesn't matter who you are, where you've been, what your story is. Grace is, hey, you get a new life. Here's a new chance. Here's the next chance. Here's how you get justified, not by what you do, but what Jesus did for you. And who doesn't want guidance? I mean, there's plenty of times where I feel like, I don't know what I'm doing and where I'm going. Does anybody in here feel like they've got life figured out? Don't raise your hand or I'm gonna call you out. This is a rhetorical question. No, guidance is great, right? But what we're told today is to let your feelings guide you. Now, there's nothing wrong with feelings. They're natural, but feelings are a terrible guide because they constantly change and your feelings will lie to you. Instead, you can have the good shepherd over your shoulder saying, hey, this is the way you should go and walk in it. Or maybe you're looking for truth. People are hungry for truth today. All kinds of lies that you're fed every single day. And now people are starting to wonder, man, I see things that are said to be true, but they contradict each other. So what really is true? And one of the narratives that you will hear today is, hey, speak your truth, live your truth. Have you heard that before? Well, here's the thing. If something is true, it's constant, it does not change, and it is for everyone. There are no possessive pronouns in front of truth. There is no your truth or my truth. There is the truth. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, the life. Nobody comes to the Father except by me. If you want truth, it's here. He's like, I got it. Maybe you're looking for life, real life. You're living, but you don't feel alive. Maybe you don't want to talk about death. Death is a scary subject for you to talk about or think about, or when someone close to you dies, it is devastating. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will live even after dying. The reason why you don't like to talk about death or think about it, or when you're devastated when somebody close to you dies, is because death is not natural. Like if you've been here before, you've heard me say this, there is nothing natural about death. When people say death is a natural part of life, that couldn't be further from the truth. There's nothing natural about death because death was never part of the plan. You are meant to live eternally in the presence of God. But the reality is sin came into the world, broke all of that. Now death is a consequence of sin. But the good news is Jesus came, Christmas came to start God's plan for redemption and restoration. That's the great news. Christmas is the start of all of that. You want to hear how it ends? Here's how it ends. This is Revelation 21. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth had disappeared, and the sea was also gone. The sea represents the gap between us and God. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud shout from the throne saying, look, God's home is now among his people. He will live with them and they will be his people. God himself will be with them. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death or sorrow or crying or pain. All of these things are gone forever. And then the one sitting on the throne said again, look, I am making all things new. And he said to me, write this down. I tell you, this is trustworthy and true. It is finished. This is Jesus talking. It is finished. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning of the end. To all who are thirsty, I will give freely from the springs of the water of life. All who are victorious will inherit all of these blessings, and I will be their God, and they will be my people. That's what's coming, and the assurance that he's going to make good on that is our hope is based on the promise that he already made good with Christmas. Maybe you're looking for light. It's a dark world. It's really dark right now. So dark that it's really hard to see. Jesus said, I'm the light of the world. Anyone who follows me will never walk in darkness, but they will have the light of life. Christmas means get your hopes up. So today and then tomorrow and then next Christmas, every time you think of Christmas, every time you hear another Christmas song come on, especially if it's around Labor Day and you're a little too early, the next time you watch a Christmas movie, anything that reminds you of Christmas, remember, get my hopes up, get my hopes up, get my hopes up. Not in the world, not in politics, not in the economy, not in your career, not in the American dream, not in another person. Get my hopes up because of Jesus. So what we want to do right now is we want to celebrate the fact that the light came into the world. You got a candle when you came in here. Anyone who believes in me will have the light of life. So you're holding this. You have it. We're going to light these as a symbol that, man, the light came into the world and it will never go out. 2,000 years ago, they tried to put the light out when they nailed the light to a tree. And they thought darkness was there for good. The sky got dark and everything. But for 3 days, they thought, man, there's no more light. But then 3 days later, the light walked out of the grave on his own. And this light will never go out from then until Jesus comes back. And if you know Christ, if you're following him, if you've put your faith and trust in him, you have this. That's why we hold these candles. So let's celebrate right now. We're going to sing one of the best Christmas songs there is. Let's celebrate that the light came into the world and we have him. So get your hopes up.